What's going on, guys? Corey from PhoneArena here, and today I have with me the Samsung Galaxy J7 2017 for AT&T. Now if you look at it, it doesn't quite look like the J7 2017 announced in Europe a little over a month ago. Instead, it's kind of a hybrid between that and the J7V released on Verizon a few months ago. Now this phone retails for $240, which actually puts it against some stiff competition. Most notably, the Moto G series, who we've seen some solid performance from in the past, the Nokia 6, which we'll be reviewing shortly, but compares favorably in looks and on the spec sheet, and even some lesser-known Chinese manufacturers who've been known to pack value at this price point. The question is, does Samsung pack enough of its own flair and capability into the J7 to separate it from its competitors? Let's find out in my review of the Samsung Galaxy J7 2017 for AT&T. Samsung may be known for some of the best looking and aggressive styling in the smartphone market. Unfortunately, that approach skips over the company's mid-rangers up to this point, and that includes the Galaxy J7. Looking a lot like the 2014 Note 2, the J7's face is a bland gray color with silver accents, including the haptic buttons, which are not backlit, and the bezel, which is not a fingerprint sensor. Rubberized plastic lines the edges and the backing of the phone, which give the large device good grip in the hand. Also on the edge is the speaker grille, which we were surprisingly okay with. We rarely found ourselves covering it, and the position allows for good sound delivery. The speaker's grille is enveloped in a thin metal strip, about a ½ inch thick, which cuts horizontally across the back of the phone and also encompasses the camera and single LED flash. It's clear just from looking at it that the J7 is a device that focuses on function more than form. Looking at the display, the first thing you'll notice is how bright it is. Samsung's always been known to have rich, Super AMOLED displays, but this isn't one of them. Likely for the sake of cost and battery life, the J7 packs a thin film transistor LCD screen instead. Despite this fact, we found colors on the screen to be vivid and quite accurate in most situations. The display does lean towards the colder bluish side though, and this, coupled with the overly bright screen, even at low settings, made the screen a little exhausting to look at. Some added warmth would be very welcome. We were worried about the resolution of this 5.5-inch display. 1280 by 720 or 720p is lower than we typically like to see in this size. Generally, it's always a safer bet to have 1080p, but somehow the J7 rarely made us miss it. Pixelation and grain weren't issues for this device, enabling you to zoom in on high-resolution images with satisfactory results. The Samsung experience, first introduced in the Galaxy S8, keeps the user interface clean and the settings well organized. Small touches like tapping an arrow icon to scroll to the top of a list make us happy to be on a Samsung. We didn't mind using the proprietary apps for mail, web browsing, or messaging, but we had to search between the main phone settings and the app's contextual menu to find all the settings for certain apps. The omission of two main features, though, made us miss Chrome and Gmail. The web browser inexplicably lacks swipe gestures for back and forward functions, and notifications for email are only actionable if you want to reply. No delete option exists, forcing us to clear messages which will have to go into the Mail app later to delete. Navigating the J7 is a swift and usually smooth experience. Samsung's in-house Exynos 7870 processor, while not a speed demon, still delivers impressive results in this configuration. 2 GB of RAM aid it in multitasking, which the J7 also does well, opening apps quickly and switching them with usually a slight pause. Like most mid-rangers, gaming is doable, but less than optimal. This will be where you see the display's true colors, so to speak, and the 720p screen shows us how disappointing it can be on a 5.5-incher. You'll also be dropping a lot of frames and encountering a persistent stutter. Opening the camera, you're greeted with Samsung's familiar controls. Among them is Pro Mode, a feature we recommend getting familiar with on the J7. While well-lit photos taken on this 8-megapixel camera generally come out looking nice and properly colored, a noticeable tendency to overexpose degrades the depth and color range in images, a problem that gets much worse in scenes with either low light or varied brightness. Turning on the non-automated HDR mode helps bring back some photos from the brink of complete washout, but doing so often softens the overall image further, creating scenes that look airbrushed or painted. Of course, this issue is most prominent in low-light conditions, but well-lit situations that require a dynamic range still suffered the same issues. HDR pictures also took too long to snap, almost always letting in movement during the time it was processing. A quicker and automated HDR mode, as well as overall better imaging software, are needed for this phone to remain competitive in this category. Video production is similar in that it reproduces colors and images well in bright scenes, but the lack of any image stabilization is an absence which you'll immediately be aware of. Autofocus also had quite a tough time getting homed in, often never even doing so. Calls on the J7 sound alright. The device is HD voice capable, but even then, voices often came through with a bit of muffling and muddiness. The speakerphone is loud, but also produces the same tinge of stuffiness. Packing a 3300 mAh battery, the J7 lasted over 12.5 hours in our custom test, and showed it could last deep into a second day on moderate usage and a lower brightness setting. It does take similarly long to charge back up though, clocking in at 2 hours and 22 minutes. AT&T's Galaxy J7 is a decent mid-range smartphone. It's just not simply bursting with value like others in its category though. Consider the fact that right now you can get a 32GB iPhone SE for $200 and gain a superior camera, nicer materials, a fingerprint scanner, and generally better performance. Or if you prefer the 5-inch plus screen size, you can move to the Moto G5 Plus for $230 and gain a more competent camera, a screen that's more comfortable to look at, a fingerprint scanner, and for our tastes, a much better looking device. The same may be true of the Nokia 6 with its stylish looks and favorable spec sheet. Stay tuned for our review on that shortly. Then you have the Honor 6X from Huawei, which offers you a taste of flagship level features like dual cameras, 3 GB of RAM, and of course a fingerprint scanner. The list goes on, truthfully, of phones that offer similar, if not better performance and more features. That makes it hard for us to recommend this phone. It's not a bad phone, and if Samsung's your panacea, by all means, grab a J7. But with so many other solid options out there offering more value, there's never been a better time to try something new. I'm Corey Gaskin with PhoneArena, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for our latest reviews.